Ancient strategy, modern sales, one usable line per episode.
Last time, slowing down breaks the stall. Today, a calm response to price pressure. What to do when the prospect says those 3 words every salesperson dreads: "It's too expensive." I lost a deal last month over price. Everything was aligned. The prospect loved the solution. The team was on board. Then procurement got involved. First email, "We need to discuss pricing." Second email, "Your competitor came in 30% lower." Third email, "We need your best and final by Friday."
What did you do?
I panicked. Offered a 15% discount within 2 hours. They came back asking for 25. I said I needed to check with my manager. By the end of this episode, you'll know why defending or discounting are both traps, and the one sentence that reframes the entire pricing conversation. My old belief: price objections mean the price is wrong. If someone says, "too expensive," the answer is either to justify the cost or lower it. Defend or discount. Those are the only 2 options.
And both feel natural.
They do. Defending feels principled. Let me show you the value. Discounting feels pragmatic. Let me see what I can do. But here's what I noticed. Whether I defended or discounted, the conversation always stayed in the same place. We were still talking about the number. The number became the entire deal.
Because you were playing the game on their field.
The game?
When a prospect says, "too expensive," they're not making a mathematical statement. They're applying pressure. The number is the weapon. But the goal is to see how you react. Will you flinch? Will you cave? Will you scramble? Your reaction tells them everything about your confidence and your margins. Sun Tzu wrote extensively about the economics of prolonged campaigns. Forn Yong Bing Ji Fa, Chi Che Qian Si, Zhe Che Qian Sheng, Dai Jia Shi Wan, Qian Li Kui Liang, then, Ri Fei Qian Jin, Ron Hao Shi Wan Ji Shi Ju Yi, 1,000 pieces of gold a day. That is the cost of raising an army of 100,000.
The cost of war.
Sun Tzu's point was precise. Ju Bao Shi Zhe Guo Yong Bu Zhu. If the campaign is protracted, the resources of the state will not be sufficient. The danger wasn't the battle itself, it was the prolonged drain. The cost of a war nobody planned to be long. Hold this image.
So Sun Tzu wasn't saying, "Don't spend." He was saying, "Don't let spending become the problem." The real danger is when the cost conversation takes over and nobody talks about the objective anymore.
Exactly. And that's precisely what happens in sales pricing conversations. The moment "too expensive" enters the room, the objective, solving the prospect's problem, vanishes. Everyone starts talking about the number. The deal becomes a war of attrition over percentages. Both sides drain resources. The original value proposition is forgotten.
So the price objection is a trap. Not because the prospect is being deceptive, but because it redirects the entire conversation.
To a battlefield where you always lose. If you defend, you're justifying. If you discount, you're conceding. Both positions are reactive. You've lost control of the frame. The prospect has all the leverage because you're playing on their terrain.
Then what's the alternative? I can't just ignore the objection.
You don't ignore it. You reframe it. You separate the 2 things that got tangled together, the actual price, and the pressure being applied around it. Because those are 2 completely different conversations.
2 different conversations.
The price is a number. It's rational. It can be discussed calmly. The pressure is emotional. It's the urgency, the competitor comparison, the Friday deadline, the procurement posturing. When you respond to the price while the pressure is still active, you make bad decisions. Every time. Let's look at what happens when you don't separate them.
What does defending or discounting actually cost?
3 things. And they compound. First, defending triggers an argument. When you say, "Let me show you the value," the prospect hears, "You don't understand." Now they have to prove they do understand, by pushing harder on price. You've turned a negotiation into a debate. And debates in sales are wars nobody wins.
Second,
discounting destroys positioning. The moment you lower the price without anything changing, you've told the prospect three things. The original price was inflated. You have room to move. And pressure works. Next time, and there's always a next time. The pressure starts earlier and pushes harder.
And third,
both responses keep you inside the pressure frame. Whether you defend or discount, you've accepted that price is the central issue. The prospect's problem, the reason they need your solution, gets pushed to the margin. You're negotiating numbers instead of solving problems. And when you negotiate numbers, the lowest number wins. That's never you.
So the pattern is, the prospect raises price. I react to the number. I either justify or concede. The conversation collapses into a price war. The value story disappears, and I lose margin, confidence, or both.
And the deal that was about solving a problem becomes a transaction about cost.
How do I break out of that?
One sentence. When the prospect says, "too expensive," before you respond to the number, you say this. Let's separate price from pressure.
Separate price from pressure.
7 words. You say them calmly, not defensively, not aggressively, just factually. Let's separate price from pressure. It does 3 things at once. It acknowledges the objection, it names the dynamic, and it shifts the conversation from reactive to analytical.
What happens when I say that?
The prospect pauses. No one has ever said that to them before. They expect you to defend or cave. Instead, you've named the pattern. You've shown that you understand what's happening, not just the number, but the game around the number. That display of awareness changes the power dynamic entirely.
Then what?
Follow it with, "I want to talk about the investment seriously. But I want to do that when we're both thinking clearly, not under artificial deadline pressure." You've separated the rational discussion from the emotional pressure. Now you can have a real pricing conversation. Second tool. When they cite a competitor's lower price, don't compare features. Instead, help me understand what's driving the urgency around cost right now.
You're diagnosing the pressure source.
Often the urgency isn't about your price at all. It's about their budget cycle, their boss's expectations, or procurement scorecard. When you understand the source, you can address the actual constraint, which is rarely the number itself.
And the third tool.
After separating price from pressure, redirect to impact. Before we finalize numbers, can we revisit what this solves and what it costs you to wait? You're not defending your price. You're reminding them why the price exists. Value first, numbers second.
3 tools. Let's separate price from pressure. What's driving the urgency around cost right now? And, can we revisit what this solves? All about reframing instead of reacting.
Let's lock them in.
Here's my takeaway. Price objections aren't about the number. They're pressure moves. When you react to the pressure, you either defend and argue, or discount and lose position. Both keep you inside the prospect's frame. The fix is to separate the 2 things that got tangled.
Keep going.
Sun Tzu warned that prolonged campaigns drain the state. In sales, prolonged price battles drain your margin, your positioning, and your confidence. The answer isn't to fight harder on price. It's to refuse the price war entirely by naming the dynamic, the principle. Let's separate price from pressure. Name it, break the pattern, then talk about the real investment with clear heads.
Drill zone. Come back here before your next pricing conversation. Procurement just emailed. Your competitor is 30% lower. We need your best and final by Friday. Your instinct says, sharpen the pencil, send a discount. What do you say?
Let's separate price from pressure.
Again, like you've seen what happens when the price war takes over.
Let's separate price from pressure.
Good. Now the diagnosis question.
Help me understand what's driving the urgency around cost right now.
and the value redirect.
Before we finalize numbers, can we revisit what this solves?
The sequence. Price pressure hits. Reset. Let's separate price from pressure. Diagnose. What's driving the urgency around cost? Redirect. Can we revisit what this solves? Don't fight the number. Reframe the conversation.
Reset, diagnose, redirect.
This week's test. Find one deal where pricing is under pressure. One conversation where the prospect or procurement is pushing on cost. In your next interaction, say those 7 words. Let's separate price from pressure.
And if they keep pushing?
They might, once, but watch what happens next. The conversation shifts, because you've shown that you understand the game. And people negotiate differently with someone who sees the full board. You've moved from chess piece to chess player.
Which tool should I try first?
Whichever matches your week. A. Let's separate price from pressure. B. What's driving the urgency around cost right now? Or C. Can we revisit what this solves? Drop your pick in the comments. I read every one.
Can we hear those one more time?
A. Let's separate price from pressure. B. What's driving the urgency around cost right now? C. Can we revisit what this solves?
What's next?
How to respond without defending. When someone challenges you and every fiber says fight back. Same calm tone. One usable line.
Ancient strategy, modern sales, one usable line per episode.